Syracuse, welcome back to Spatchcock Nation. We have a special limited edition we're going to run. This is Spatchcock Nation Hot Joints. And our goal is to focus on really the lifeblood of the Central New York community, and that's our restaurant scene. It is super dope. The food is super tight. The bars are great. And during COVID, we've all suffered from that because we haven't been able to enjoy it. And equally so, our economy and really our culture has suffered from that too. So this limited edition series is going to focus on restaurants and bars that we think are really super important, both culturally, economically, and food-wise, because I like to eat at all these places. And we want to get into that. So what we want to start with actually is our two friends of ours. These are Ryan and Leanne that own Oh My Darling and the Fitz. I'm not sure if we can talk about the Fitz because it's a speakeasy, but I think it might come up in the conversation. But the reason why we wanted to start with these guys is besides that they're fun and cool and trendy and the type of people that you want to be like because they're like really cool and really, really great to the community, is they do a bunch of things that are important more so than the food, which is great, and the drinks, which are equally as great. They put this restaurant in, and it really has revolutionized and revitalized the Salina Street neighborhood, so to speak, in terms of the part of Armory Square. So you have the theater, which is really important, and that creates meals and bar activity and things like that around the area. But there really has not been, at least in my time, and I grew up here for most of my life, a place that becomes a hub. And it's not only a dope place for like a chill little date night or a group dinner, or if you want to turn it up at the Fitz, but it's become like this kind of emotional bedrock for that street, and it's an awesome place. So that's why we wanted to start with these guys. So how y'all doing?
Hey, Matt, really well, man. Thanks for that beautiful introduction. Super kind, man. But I love that bedrock analogy. No, that's really sweet to us, and certainly hits my heart in the right way.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Well, I mean, we thought about the way that it is. Whenever you walk into your place, you always feel welcome, and the lighting is awesome because it's not too dark, it's not too bright. It feels like it's a cool vibe. And the other thing that I was thinking about was during the protests and things like that, you were active out front of your restaurant, inviting people in, and that type of thing is that's what great restaurants like David Hoyne does similar things like that. You guys do these things that engage a community, and there's no better place to start. Plus, you're like the hot new kids on the scene now. Since you guys launched, there really hasn't been any new cool shit since COVID kind of came down, you know?
Yeah, we opened up. It's kind of broke our heart, but kind of ironic too. We opened up. It was the St. Patrick's Day parade in 2019. And we unfortunately got closed on our 1-year anniversary as a result of COVID, which again was the St. Patrick's Day parade. That's when all these things, locked down here in downtown Syracuse.
Yeah.
So so we've the benefit, I guess, of being the new kids for 2 years, as opposed to 1 year, though, we'd regret, we'd prefer to have some new kids join us at this point.
They always say like the first year is the hardest, and we did it. We closed on our first year.
Yeah, we joke at this point saying, hey, our goal is to open up one new restaurant a year, just not the same restaurant. We were kind of hoping to have some growth, but here we go. We're about to do it for the third time. And
you're still on track though, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Tell us about what made you guys want to start this. What was the dream behind it? Tell us about that.
Well, we lived in New York City for 7.5 years. And I would say we were kind of thinking, we got married in Syracuse. We're both from Syracuse. We were kind of thinking of making an escape plan from the city, So we decided to start looking around Syracuse to see, if we moved to our hometown, what are we going to do? And we saw this building, and we're both huge lovers of the theater. And the location of it being right across the street from the Landmark Theater was huge for us. So we were thinking, oh my gosh, what if we opened this up and became that place where people could come before or after a show? And that was very exciting for us.
Yeah. And then I guess I'll say is, prior to us wanting to open up the restaurant, we said, well, when we come back to Syracuse, I had worked on in real estate for a long time. We own a retail store down in New York City called Leigh Forest. And we started in a 400 square foot, little space at Pier 17 at the South Street Seaport. We ended up growing that concept into 3 locations kind of across the New York metro area. And one of the things that broke our heart was when we did our second deal, we were paying $11,000 a month in rent for like a 700 square foot space. And we said, this is just ridiculous. So as part of that exit plan, we were like, all right, well, what if we, instead of investing in additional retail stores, what if we take some of the capital that we've built up through this retail store and look into real estate? And then we said, if we own the real estate, instead of making a rent payment to somebody else, we'll have the benefit of the economics, where you make that rent payment to a different entity, but you build the equity long term. And so became the Whitney Lofts project. And we bought these 2 buildings where the restaurant ran in the 300 block of South Salina. We have 16 apartments upstairs. And then with the retail space, again, to Leanne's point, we said, what are we going to do? And we, that bedrock analogy you go back to, restaurants are cultural anchors of a society, and that's where life happens. And there's been so much energy and revitalization in Syracuse. We wanted to be part of that. We think that restaurants are a great anchor. And then we just saw the marriage between the theater, as Leanne said, and what we're offering here.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, when we started Legalese Forest in New York City, we have had that business also for 6 years,
13,
7 years.
Yeah.
But when we started that, we took no money from the bank. I worked as a waitress in Times Square. We built up. Our employees are making more money than us because we weren't taking any money from it. We were just trying to build the brand. And I mean, in doing so, that was really what has been able for us to make all of this happen.
I love that you shared that because the last part in particular about the money, because I think a lot of people don't recognize how hard it is to run a business, any business for that matter, but especially the restaurant business. You have low margins, particularly the things that draw people in, right? You have lower margins on food than you do on cocktails. And so it becomes a difficult thing, but it's funny because the average person doesn't realize, yeah, we're not making any money, and we are, but we're doing this because it's good for the community. And you mentioned the Whitney Loft, so that's been a de facto studio for us for some of our cooking shows. So we're grateful to get the use of it. But the style of that and the restaurant itself are kind of awesome. So tell us about your style, and then what's like one of the dishes at Oh My Darling that kind of represents that style.
Well, I've thought a lot about this over the last couple of years, and it's funny, man, because I look at restaurants kind of like being a musician. So like, check this. So like, some chefs come in and, comparable to lyrics, they know exactly what their menu is going to look like, and you kind of start with the lyrics, and then you build the structure around that. And we kind of went the opposite way. I would look at us as like, we had this concept of a restaurant that we didn't know what the food was going to be. We knew that with where Syracuse was going, we wanted an aesthetic that was open and bright and colorful and and comparable to the court structure. We had this big vision, but we didn't know the specifics. So when we had this idea of what the restaurant was going to look like, from an aesthetic perspective, to me, brunch stood out a lot. And like, when you walk in on a brunch on a Saturday or Sunday, it's that like light feeling where you're taking that breath, man. You're sitting down, you're going to have a mimosa with some friends, and you're going to catch up. And like, that feeling is what we wanted the restaurants to feel like. So in terms of like any one dish, I think captures that. I would go with any Benedict all day, where we have great chefs that put those together. But I think that dish captures the feeling that we were trying to go for. And by the way, that matches the music that we play. On brunches, again, that's a very, we play Aretha Franklin, we play kind of that light, old, Southern almost, charming music. And then during the day, we change it, vibe up a little bit, but that same openness is still right there.
Yeah, I'll say, so we started with the concept of the Syracuse Orange, and we thought, okay, Salina Street has like a very hard connotation to it, and we really wanted to brighten it up. I was thinking, okay, how can we soften an orange? Let's bring it down to a clementine. And with us being married, it kind of felt like the darling part was a very like sweet marriage kind of word. So the Oh My Darling, clementine, just kind of all tied together. So you'll see in the restaurant that all the colors are very light blues and I say light orange, like orange and blue to represent Syracuse, but the light orange is really a yellow in here. So it's a lot of very light blues and yellows.
The concept of the clementine and bring that down and the sweetness of it, it really shows with the way that people treat each other in there, and it's awesome. I mean, with my background, you know, in branding and things like that, when you see people have a vision for a brand and then it becomes reality, it's such a cool thing. Like it becomes tangible, and that's pretty awesome. Okay, so here's another question for you because of your styles, and I can't wait to hear what you think, what your answers are to this. So you are on death row and you have your last meal. What is that last meal going to be?
Any of my wife's cooking, Matt. Done. No, what's your answer?
Oh my gosh, I mean, I could eat pizza every day.
Chicago deep dish.
Yeah, Chicago deep dish for sure. But honestly, I feel like maybe now that we're in our restaurant right now, maybe the Darling Burger.
Yeah. So true story, Leanne came up with like 85% of the menu. And the Darling Burger is definitely a brainchild of hers. And like it was a great working relationship between her and our executive chef, where Leanne kind of gave the direction. And then our chef, who is a CIA graduate, like he's top notch, he knows what he's doing back there, kind of took this concept and then, you know, like you said, man, you turn it into reality, you know, and that was really cool to see. It kind of blew us away the first time he walks out with dishes.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, this is a real thing?
Yeah, we were like, wait, our food is good? And he was like, yeah. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
It was like the night before we opened and chef just came out with a flatbread and we were like all so starving because we were just so focused on everything here. And we were like, this is what we're serving.
We have good food.
He was like,
I didn't know.
He goes, it's just a flatbread. We were like, oh.
Yeah. And I just wrap up, man. I think my go-to last meal, I'm a huge fan of the restaurant in town called the Sutter Mill. Love Dan and all those guys over there.
Mm-hmm.
Their pork chop to me is, aside from Oh My Darling, like bias aside, I love their pork chop over there. One of the best.
He'll tell strangers about that pork chop.
Yeah.
It is an outstanding pork chop. The Oh My Darling Burger is super legit. I think we got takeout maybe either the day before or the day that you guys were chilling before you started to chill for a little bit. And it's one of those things, like I've had everything on your menu, but that was one of the last things that I tried. And it was one of those things where I heard a lot of people, to my partner's wife, she was like, yo, you got to eat this burger. And I'm like, yeah, it's one of those things that on paper, you see the flavor profile line up. And you for me, I thought to myself, this is either going to be awesome or I'm not going to like it. And she's like, you're going to love it. And I'm like, okay, cool, with goat cheese and everything on there, like, you know, but it's super creamy with this or that. And she's like, just try it. And the way that the roll is just hard, it's an awesome burger. And that, I mean, when you see people be inventive and then execute it, because you can have a cool idea. I mean, how often I do this all the time, make something like, this is going to be awesome. And you eat it and you're like, oh boy, I can't let everybody know that I
Sure,
made it.
Yeah.
That's how most of my dishes end up, man. So like, you know, we're owners, you know, I'm not a cook for that reason. But she's great.
I like a good burger where you don't need condiments.
Yeah, if it's cooked perfectly, right? Well,
yeah.
What's your favorite thing to cook at home?
I mean, lately we've been cooking. I've been cooking so much just because we don't go anywhere. But for Christmas, my parents got us a wok, and I've been like loving. Like last week, I made homemade orange chicken with rice. Oh, that was so good. And last night we had a stir fry with broccoli, edamame, chicken. Oh, so good.
I think my answer is turkey sandwiches with white bread and lettuce. And a bowl of Cheerios.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Our dishes have just been piled up because we're cooking. Oh, I'm cooking so much at home.
But you know, you're being creative and stuff, which is great. So speaking of creative and different things, what's a unique or crazy experience you've had with a customer that you might want to share?
Oh man, first of all, we've been blessed to have a lot of really cool customers, you know, come in, you know, and we try to touch at every table, you know, to have that intimate moment to kind of say hi to folks and all that. But I'll say I think the most memorable for me are experiences that happen downstairs in the Fitz, 1920 speakeasy. And when we designed the Fitz, we designed it kind of with this almost like a Broadway showcase genre in mind. So I think in terms of the coolest guest experiences we had with the landmark across the street, we had the cast of Les Mis when they were traveling through town come downstairs, and we did a party for them downstairs. We just had a phenomenal experience with those guys. We had the national tour of Jesus Christ Superstore. They all came downstairs, and we had their party downstairs.
Oh,
and,
that was the kickoff of their national tour.
Yeah, when they were in town. We had the cast of Rent when they were doing across the street at the Red House come down, and they actually performed. The entire cast of Rent came downstairs and sang Seasons of Love downstairs. So you just have like these incredible moments where like you kind of, as the owner, you kind of take a step back and you're like, this is why we designed this space. This is the feeling of what you're seeing right now with, 150 people downstairs experiencing this. You can't program it, some of these moments, and it's just a true illustration of beauty, meeting design, and just incredible moments to experience.
Yeah. And meeting like the incredible people that come in here too. I mean, you and Stephanie, like we love your support all the time. Stephanie's a badass. I want to be like her one day.
Me too.
Like the people that come in, like, I mean, we're like friends with Arthur Jones now, and he came up to his table to say like, thanks for coming in. And he goes, who told you I play football? But yeah, like a lot of the actors from American High come in here too. So it's been incredible meeting those people too.
Yeah.
It's funny, the story about the different Broadway talent and everything performing at the Fitz. Like the Fitz is one of my favorite places to have cocktails, and I like to have cocktails. And I like going there after happy hour. It's starting like right as it's starting to get crowded, but it's still a chill scene. And I remember being downtown at one point and like people talking like, oh, I heard it wasn't Ren, it was somebody else that was there. Like I heard the cast is at the Fitz. We're gonna go over there and see them. And I thought that was so cool that you get that vibe that like, I mean, I lived in New York for a few years. You guys are there, that you would hear those conversations there. It was cool to hear them here. And I remember walking downstairs there at one point, and my wife and I were there. I don't know. We were there on some kind of business envoy thing. Actually, I think she was. I was just tagging along. She was there like to talk with somebody. And we walked in and there was a woman at the piano, a woman singing and a guy at the piano, and a trumpet player. And they were doing like kind of like a jazz version of a Cardi B song. And it was like super sexy. And like she's talking to this guy and I leaned over and I'm kind of like, yo, hey girl, like what's up? Like I'm feeling the vibe from the music and everything. And she's like, yeah, hold on, let me finish this business.
Yeah.
But that's the type of vibe that you guys have created. So you referenced earlier cider mill and the pork chop. So here's a question for you. You've got to plan you have to plan a 3-course meal, appetizer, main course, and dessert using restaurants from the area, but not Oh My Darling. What does that meal look like? What are you getting? And where are you getting it from?
Oh my gosh, everything.
Everything from everywhere.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so.
You mind if I go?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, so I have like very clear favorites kind of across town. And first of all, like I'm one of 6 kids from this old Italian family. Benz is not Italian at all; it's German. But we, one of our traditions was going over to Ann Gotti's. And every time we have family in town, man, I love Ann Gotti's. I think it's like one of the best, most underrated places in town. And it's rated really high. So my appetizer is a piece of lasagna from Ann Gotti's, which is totally not an appetizer, but I don't give a shit. I'm having a piece of lasagna from Ann Gotti's. I'm going to the cider mill for my pork chop, and then I'm going to Biscotti's, and I'm going to go have cannolis and Italian cookies until my body explodes. And that is like the ideal, right there on death row. That's all I want is those 3 things.
Yeah,
that's hard to argue with that.
I want like 7 appetizers and like, well, we actually met at the Dinosaur Barbecue.
Yeah.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother used to have a band called Alex Boatman and the Boatmen.
Okay.
And so this is kind of going backwards, but I used to be a dancer on a Disney tour. So I was I was traveling, performing, and in between one of our contracts, I got sent home, and we had like a 2-week break. And so when I came home, I found out that my brother was performing at the Dinosaur that night. So my parents went, my friends went, I met them all there. And he just walked right up to me and was like, "Hey, how are you?" And I was like, "Hey, are you?" And
Yeah, I'm really glad this is coming up right now. She thought I was my brother, who is the drummer from this band named Candid. And by the way, Matt, we're going to lay out all the secrets here. This is the 3rd time I had met her, but she never remembered the first 2 times. So, so she thought I was my brother walking up.
it's fine, it ended up well.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I was gonna say probably some food from the Dino. I would say definitely the fried green tomatoes.
Yeah, you love those.
Yeah.
Gotta have those.
Yeah.
Gotta have their Wango Tango wings. And then I might switch over to Mellow Velo and get their kale salad, which is, if you've never had it, have you ever had their kale salad?
I have. It's legit. Usually,
It is so
that is what my food eats, but their food is their salad's good.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I could have everything from there. Their beet hummus, their butternut squash mac and cheese, and their kale salad. And then if I was still hungry, I'd still go to a pizza and get their zucchini fritters.
I love
like
it.
want everything from like all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have a bright, we really do have a bright culinary, it's a great food town. I mean, it's not a surprise that you've had a lot of Food Network and different cooking show people here, because it's all really good. So when you're not meeting someone for the 3rd time, but actually thinking it's the first time, or having these great adventures, and every time I walk into your place, I see usually it's both of you, but at least one of you are there. I feel like you live there actually. But when you're not at Oh My Darling, what are you guys doing for fun?
Matt, we have a 2-year-old, so that takes up the other 3 hours a day that we're not here, or back in the day or something. No, in all seriousness, so I think Leigh and I, first of all, we're super passionate about Syracuse, CNY at large. So we both volunteer on a couple of boards kind of across town. So we stay really busy, and we have a great general manager here at the restaurant. We have a great executive chef. So, we hire great people and then give them the tools to be successful and get out of the way, and I think that's a big key to what leadership is. So with that said, the demands of Oh My Darling for us, fortunately, are not that of a traditional executive chef owner, which gives us additional latitude. So we both volunteer on some other boards. I'm very passionate, and we're both very passionate about Syracuse as a whole. So one of the things that we're working on right now is a platform to increase home ownership in low and moderate income folks, to try to get folks to, particularly first-time home buyers, to buy their first houses, to work with them on financial literacy through various other local programs, and trying to break that generational poverty that is so prevalent in this community. That's something I'm very passionate about, and something I spend a lot of time on. And then, if you want to call that work, I don't call that work, because that's such a human, like, of course you do that, kind of a thing that, that's not work to me. But aside from that, like, I'm a huge baseball fan. I can't wait for the Mets to start back up this year. One of my dreams, especially with a 2-year-old little boy, is I really want to buy, I want to bring my little boy to baseball games, so I'm looking at buying like a small season ticket package for that, and get out there and relax with him. But we just try to spend time as a family. We travel when possible. We have family in Florida, North Carolina, all around. We try to do that. So
yeah,
just try to stay young.
we both come from an arts background, so you can imagine our house. We just have a lot of family dance parties, a lot of listening to Hamilton.
We don't throw away our shot, man.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
This question here is, you each have to answer this, and I've been thinking about this question actually quite a bit, and my answer changes all the time. But you have to pick one celebrity, and that celebrity is going to come to Syracuse, and you're going to go on a food tour or bar hopping, whatever it may be. It's just you and that person, and you want to show off all the food and drinks and all the cool stuff in Syracuse. So who's that person and why? And then we're going to try to reach out to them and say, yo, you totally should call Ryan and Leanne. They want to hang out with you next weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I will say, since we're a couple, I'm going to invite a couple.
Oh, nice.
I would say Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, because I recently found out that we share the same wedding anniversary. And I just feel like there's
We're best friends with them?
yeah, we're best friends. But yeah, I mean, they're America's sweetheart couple, so it'd be super cool to have them around.
Sure, I'm down with that. My answer, I think I'm going to go Gordon Ramsay. And I think that guy is the epitome of what it takes to be an executive chef and leader in the kitchen. He has a negative reputation, not a bad reputation, it's a great reputation, but he comes across as a hard ass because he has high expectations. And whether it's his restaurant or somebody else's, I love, when you have a high level of expectation, people rise to that level of expectations. And he demands that as he goes across and does all of his, various programs, because he wants people to be the best version of themselves. And he hates, not to say quitters or anything like that, but he expects a high level. So I would love to challenge his palate, certainly around town, and then get his perspective and just soak up everything that guy has. One of the things, while I'm not a great chef, I'm a decent cook. But while I'm not great, one of the things that I do like a lot of nights is I'll go on YouTube, and he has these incredible shorts that he'll show you how to prepare meats or show you how to cook the perfect, as small of things as like scrambled eggs to, or elegant, ornate meals. And I just think he's a phenomenal aspiration, of what an executive chef owner could be.
Okay, so we gotta shout him out for sure. So for Christmas, my wife got me a subscription to Masterclass, and it's super dope. Like I've been watching Tom Morello talk about how to play the electric guitar. Like, this is crazy. Barack Obama on leadership, but Gordon Ramsay is one of the food ones, and I've watched the first series of him. And I like to cook. I think I'm pretty good at it myself. But he shows you how to make scrambled eggs, right? But he's a great teacher. And one of the things he does is this knife class, and it shows you. So basically, and I have nice knives, and I've recently been getting into I have a Shun Ito and Kai Pro and different really cool for the show that we love to use. And I watched every one of those, and he put the time into it to really explain how to break down a chicken and what to look for when you're going to cook a fish. And it is beyond helpful. Anybody, I cannot say enough, just like you do, how great it is to watch him, because if you ask him to do something, he's going to explain it to you. And I mean, it might be weird though, because you're friends with some of the people I think you guys are friends with everybody. And it might be funny though, Ryan rolls in with Gordon Ramsay to one of his friends' restaurants, and all of a sudden that friend's not going to like that too much. And Gordon Ramsay's like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Right. We'll figure that part out, man. But yeah. I'll tell you, if somebody else rolls into our restaurant, if Paulie, from a pizza rolls in, I'm kicking him out. That's it.
Yeah, so we've got no space here. Sorry tonight, man. You can't come in here.
Yeah. Totally booked. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, so another thing too that I think about from restaurants, and my partner had this great question, because it's true. When you work in a restaurant, the atmosphere is different in the sense that you get really close to people because you're jammed in with them under pressure for hours on end. So what, for each of you, is your favorite song to blast while you're cleaning up at the end of the night?
I will say Falling Water by Maggie Rogers.
Okay.
Or the entire album of Hamilton.
I thought Hamilton was here.
Yeah.
There you go. For me, man, I don't have a preference with that stuff. I'm a huge music lover. I'm a musician myself. I play piano, trumpet. So I'll listen to just about anything. So what I'll say is, from my perspective, let the especially the kitchen team, they listen to music back there. Get out of their way and let them listen to what they want to listen to. And with that, dude, there was one time I was in the front of the house, and I heard to myself, are they singing The Little Mermaid back there? And I popped my head into the kitchen just to listen for a second. Yeah, they're singing The Little Mermaid. And I pulled out my phone and I started recording our kitchen light singing the Little Mermaid.
Oh my God.
And that's, at the end of a long day, sometimes you just gotta, relax and they're all 25 years old, whatever it is. It's just the stuff they grew up with, So they listen to anything from that stuff. Other times, like to Leanne's point, that we've heard show tunes back there. We've heard like 90s, gangster rap back there, good old fashioned hip hop, man. Just let them enjoy, the moments of that they're here, and get out of the way.
Yeah, it's funny. We always get ourselves in a pickle because we want to create an atmosphere that we like. So we use the music that we always listen to. So then at the end of the day, you're like, well, what do I listen to? Because I don't want to hear my favorite band anymore.
Right. That type of thing, though, right? Like the kitchen music. So, earlier in the year, I worked for a couple weekends in the kitchen at Lacey's, and there's a guy there that works there. This guy's awesome. He's the grill man. His name is Thomas. He's a super fun guy, but like he's the type of person that you want in your kitchen. This dude just grinds, and he's really good at it, and he's a lot of fun. And he's kind of like in charge of music, but he'll change the themes up. So one night it's like all like 80s hair band / metal, like the next one is 90s hip hop, then it's like newer stuff. And he's always trading music ideas. And at one point, like we're like in there and like working, and I'm like, you know what we should do? Like we should actually, would you guys mind if I kind of like made a playlist based on what we're doing? And they're like, just shut up and get back to your line and keep chopping up the carrots, dude. We don't care about your need for a playlist right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'd love to capture that. So speaking of capturing that too, you mentioned like watching Gordon Ramsay on YouTube. What's some of the content that you guys have been binging, whether it's online or streaming or whatever?
What do you think? Bridgerton?
Yeah.
Have you heard of this, Bridgerton on Netflix?
My students are raving about it, so I haven't gotten into it, but I hope to this week. Is it awesome?
Yeah. So I watched the entire series without her, sorry, and now we're watching the entire series again. And it's just one season and so forth. So that's definitely been our binge. The other show I would recommend to absolutely anybody, and this show inspires me to the point where I've watched the entire series multiple times now. It's on Disney Plus, and it's called The Imagineering. What is it called? The Imagineering Story. Yes. And it's like a 6 or 7 episode thing of like, how did Walt Disney come up with the idea of Disneyland, back in the day? How did his brother Roy and Walt finance the whole thing? And then it kind of brings you like, that's episode 1, and then it brings you through like the last 70 years now at this point. And in terms of how they expanded to Euro Disney, how they opened up the Florida project, Disney World. But I just love, man, like, Walt was older. He was in his 50s when he came up with the idea of Disneyland. And like, it gives me some hope where I'm like, I'm 37, like I don't need to build a Disneyland, but you can still make a huge impact regardless of where you are in your life. And then just seeing, just understanding his appreciation for the experience. I think we focus a lot on the experience here. And I steal relentlessly from Disney because what they do is so excellent in their execution, that for me, like that's an aspirational, inspirational. Every time I watch that series, I leave fired up.
I definitely the idea of experience, right? Like experiential to me, and everything that I'm trying to do in my life. Like I love teaching. I love doing this. This makes me super happy. I love cooking, going adventuring with my wife, but it's about the experience, right? And to me, I always find that one of the reasons why I just love your place and you guys so much is it's about the experience itself. You both come over to the table at one point. I remember one point, I forget what it was. I was wearing a sweatshirt. And Leanne was like, hey, can I take a picture of that sweatshirt? And I'm like, yeah, of course, right? But when you're in that place, besides that the food is really good, and you come back and ask how the food is, or how's this, or I'm having a cocktail, and you come over and talk about it. You genuinely care what people are thinking about it, and you make it a point to make that, like everything is about the experience, the smell, the way it's done there, and you guys do that. And that to me really epitomizes kind of what the food industry should be and what it is in this area. So here's what we're doing now, because no, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, I think that, you can buy a burger anywhere, so why do you choose to come to Oh My Darling to have that burger? And yeah, I think, man, that the meal itself is like 15%, of the overall experience, but you come in and it's the feeling, it's the company you're with, it's the lighting. We spend so much time looking and deciding what it is that we want this place to feel like, and then I think I'll take that one step further. And downstairs in the Fitz, one of my favorite things is that there's like no cell phone reception down there. So that when you're down there, Like, put the phones away, because you're here for the experience of an. And again, I go back. You can have a gin and tonic anywhere. Why do you come to the Fitz? Because we're not going to just say a gin and tonic. We're gonna first of all probably sell you a cocktail that's handmade with real eggs. And you're gonna see it takes our bartenders 2 minutes to make a cocktail, because they shake it for 30 seconds, not like a five tumble thing, and then you're on your way. There's certain true things that you have to accomplish to create that experience. And I think we spent a lot of time, really making sure that those details are perfected.
Oh, I think you nailed that. The way that drinks are served down there, the way that the bartenders talk, the way that they interact with each other, and with their interaction with each other is cool too, because they'll say, hey, she was having this, or he wants that. And actually, the last time I was in the Fitz, I was down there, and I had quite a few cocktails, like spirits, liquor, and I had said to one of the bartenders, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, I think I'm just going to do a mermaid pilsner, because that was on draft that night. There was something else, and there was another. I think it was Sloop Juice Bomb. She's like, you know what? You should have a Sloop Juice Bomb, because you just had a whiskey, and I feel like the IPA citrusy part of that is going to be a nice little thing compared to the drink you just had. And I always thought, like, I remember walking away from the bar being like, that's awesome, because you not even remember what I had, but you thought this might make the experience better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like Liz.
It was Liz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Liz
awesome.
is a great bartender.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to move on. We have a 5-question lightning round, right? So I'm going to give you 2 options. You have to pick one and why. Yeah, Leanna, it's going to get intense. So let's see where we're at. So 5 questions. The first one, you're on a fun dinner. Maybe it's this dinner could be you and Tom Hanks and Rita, right? It's the 4 of you guys. Pre-dinner drink. Are you going whiskey or vodka, and why?
I'm doing an old fashioned. One of my favorite drinks. You sit down and you sip it. Great flavor. You don't drink it to get drunk. You drink it to appreciate the quality of what you're drinking. And that for me is like a great way to start the night.
Yeah, I'd go for a whiskey with them. Just start it classy.
Yeah.
I like it. Classy, American too, a little bit maybe. Because they're like the all-American couple, right? They're
right.
Okay, so TV show to watch. You're just chilling, just the 2 of you guys, and you're at home. Diners, drive-ins, and dives, or Beat Bobby Flay?
Oh, I've actually been watching what is it?
Diners,
drive-ins, and dives. Yeah, I've been watching that a lot lately. So that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that too.
Can't go wrong with either of those. That show is so awesome. Okay, you also both, musicians and dancers, and you just are super stylish and cool. Like, I'm always like, oh, I wish I was as cool as they were. Would you rather go to a live concert or a dope backyard party?
It depends on who's performing at the live concert.
At this point, I'll go to anybody. So I'm gonna go to a live concert. I don't care what it is. My bar is this low right now. So let's just go have a beer, listen to some live music outside. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, I'll say the live concert for sure.
Respectfully to my friends, like, no, I don't care about you right now.
Okay, who would you rather have having dinner at Oh My Darling? Jim Boeheim, the head coach of the Syracuse men's basketball team, or Dino Babers, the head coach of the football team?
Well, you can't answer it.
I know it's a tough one.
We've had them both. So, I got to go Jimmy B. Jimmy B. Respectfully to Coach Babers, but like Boeheim's a legend. In this area. You got to appreciate somebody with that kind of longevity and commitment to the area.
Yeah, I'll have to say Boeheim as well. And it was very exciting when we first opened that he came within like the first month, I think.
Yeah, but you got to tell the story about Corey. So you tell it. Do you know the story?
Corey?
Yeah. So we had a host that took the reservation. No. This is Boeheim. So Jimmy B calls up, made the reservation. And the whole staff kind of knew, it's Boeheim for 2. Like, that's awesome. Come on in. And then Jim and Julie walk in, and Jim walks up to our host stand, and he goes, "Hi, we have a reservation for Boeheim for 2." And one of our hosts, Corey, he was so with us, really great kid, looks over the reservation list, and he goes, "I'm sorry, we don't have a Boeheim for 2. You'll have to wait." And then Jim kind of overlooks his shoulder. He goes, "No, it's right there." He goes, "Oh, Boheme." He had no idea who Jim Boeheim was, sitting right there in front of him. And Julie leans over to Jim and goes, "Jim, I told you not everybody knows who you are."
Yes.
Yeah. So their first impression was like, "Wait, who are you?"
Oh my God, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I bet they had a great experience though, for sure.
A memorable one, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember James, our server, was so excited to have them at his table.
Oh, yeah. And from what I understand, he's a great tipper and he treats people really well. I'm sure Babers does too, because he's just such a fun guy. So I don't think you can go wrong with that one. But the last one we have is actually relevant to something you were talking about earlier, Leanne. So you are talking about burgers. Would you rather have a burger flame grilled, or are you gonna cook it in a skillet or a frying pan, flat top? Where do you guys go in the burger school?
What's your thought?
I'm gonna say flame grilled.
I'm gonna go in a skillet for this one. Yeah, I love. In fact, my grandmother, she was like 95 years old, taught me how to cook a steak in a frying pan. Which you tenderize the hell out of it, a little butter on top, a little salt. Saute that thing, and just full of flavor and fat. So both ways are phenomenal. We do flame grilled here at the restaurant, but a saute pan you can't go wrong too.
Yeah, I mean, and your burgers travel well. I was talking with David Hoyne about this the other day, and that's a rare thing because I like my cuts rare, maybe medium rare sometimes. And I got the Darling burger, and it traveled really well. I mean, I like cooking stuff in a cast iron skillet. If you take a good cut of steak or a burger, like you can get a great sear on it and pull it out, and it's like pink all the way through. Okay, is there anything else you guys want to add? Because this has been awesome. Like, tell us one more thing about what you're looking forward to, or what we can expect from OMD in the future.
Not separate.
Well, we did decide to reopen for takeout starting February 4th.
Yeah.
So, I think the SU students will come back at that time. It'll be a nice time. We'll get our staff in February 1st, just get their wheels running again, and then start takeout Thursday.
Yeah,
February
Thursday, February 4th. Breaks are, if I can just stand on a soapbox for a second and just, gripe about this whole orange zone ridiculousness, but I'll tell you, it fires us up. We drive around town, we see restaurants still open, and as if the virus is not in the suburbs, at the same or higher rate as it is downtown. Matt, I'm gonna be very candid here, man. We have folks that I know for a fact that are on food stamps right now that work in our restaurant. Unemployment, food stamps, and all they want to do is work. And I'm not unsympathetic about the virus and the seriousness of it, but I'll say that from a leadership perspective, and specifically to the governor, if you're going to follow this orange yellow idea, then one, be consistent about it, and two, recognize that it's not perfect. And I think with where we're at right now, either level the playing field and let us all open up in some capacity, which the county executive has been pushing for everybody to go back to the yellow zone, which I think is a fair, middle ground here, or close us all and make everybody again equal and close us for 2 weeks to get rid of the virus or get it down to a manageable number, but then allow everybody to open back up. And what's happening right now is there's a systemic unfairness, to what the current plan is. And I go back, man, first of all, from a restaurant, we made a huge investment in downtown Syracuse. All of that investment, not just for us, but for 35, 40 restaurants in 13202 is on hold, which means the growth of our city, which frankly was on hold for the last 25 years, up until about 5 years ago, it's killed that momentum. So we really need leadership to step up and say, make the leaders the tough choice to close everybody or open people in a limited way so we can get this thing behind us. But what's happening right now is not fair. It's not just. And we got to get our folks back to work. It's going to be increasingly harder to get our folks to come back the longer that they are on unemployment or working someplace else at this point. So we need relief from the governor's office right now.
I'm glad that we're ending on that note, because that is of utmost importance. I agree, the county executive is definitely going in the right direction. I think the mayor is also pushing that in the right direction. And what it's doing is it's crippling us. And like you, if they were to say, hey, you know what, for 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, everything is shut down. We're going to force everyone into their homes for 4 weeks. And if that slows down the virus, so be it. And then it'll be reopens there. But I agree. It's like 1.4% is the transmission rate in restaurants, where a lot of the spread is happening in other places. So I'm so glad that you shared that. And it's not a soapbox, because that's what we need to have happen. I mean, these are people like you that care about the community. So to that end, this is Spatchcock Nation Hot Joints with Ryan, Leanne from Oh My Darling and the Fitz. They are awesome people. That is an awesome place. Get takeout from there. Go in there and party. Go in there and have cocktails. It is awesome. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt.